tell you about the St Kitts CBI program, known as Citizenship by Investment. And why am I talking about St Kitts? Well, St Kitts is probably the most famous and most established CBI program. They were, I believe, the first country to offer citizenship by investment. And what is citizenship by investment? Well, it says it all in the title. It's where you invest some money into a country, and in return, they will grant you a citizenship, including passport. Not just for you, but it could be for your entire family, your wife, your spouse, your children, and your grandparents in some cases. It is a citizenship that you can actually purchase. Now, why would this be popular? Because right now, it's incredibly popular. I mean, it always has been. It's been around for over 40 years. It's longer than I've been around. Well, almost as long as I've been around. But right now, it's been in the news a lot, particularly amongst our American clients, because a lot of people in the world are realizing they're not entirely happy where they are. Now, this could be for a number of reasons. It might be that you just pay way too much tax. You've noticed half your income is going to tax, and that does not sit comfortably with you. It might be you're just not in line with your government's policies. You live in a country where the government is doing something you just really don't agree with, and you don't want to be part of that. It might be safety. You might be in a country that's particularly dangerous. It might be a war. I'm mentioning Russia and Ukraine here. Now, Russia is a bit of an example. You can't actually apply for St Kitts citizenship if you're Russian at the moment. But it is something that Russians would be looking at. They do look at options to acquire citizenship by investment, as do people in Ukraine, as do people in the Middle East, because countries at war, you may think, well, I'm going to renounce my citizenship and I'm going to move somewhere else, so I do not have to be involved in my country's war. This is an inquiry we've been getting more and more. People often don't agree with these wars. Or it could be economics. You may find that the cost of living where you are is incredibly high, and you want to restructure yourself internationally. You want to reside in a more cost-effective country, but you need to make sure you have a citizenship to allow you to do so, a citizenship that can allow you to open bank accounts, allow you to travel easily, allow you to form companies, allow you to protect your assets. So there's a number of reasons. One of the other reasons, probably the most popular, is tax. You see, St Kitts offers zero income tax on your international income. That means if you become a citizen of St Kitts, you would not have to pay tax on your global income. Now, there are some exceptions. If you're an American, you will be required to pay tax on your global income. America is fairly unique like this, but other countries do not apply this rule. For example, if you're in England, but you stay the best part of the year, you do not live or reside in England, you could set yourself up with St Kitts as your legal base, and then you can travel the world and you get a number of tax benefits. And even if you are an American, there are various exemptions and things you can do. So there's a range of reasons why people may look to acquire a second citizenship. And St Kitts is one of the most popular because of the length of time this country has held a citizenship by investment program. It is very robust. It is, proved it can stay the distance. It has outlived most of the other programs because it is very robust. It has a strong government, it's well connected, has sovereign independence, and they value the citizenship by investment program. It's very high. The actual investments into the country have paid for a lot of their infrastructure, and they do not take that lightly. The other thing about St Kitts is they have tightened up the rules. So initially, historically, if you wanted a St Kitts citizenship, you didn't even have to visit the island. You could just do it all remotely. You could get a processing agent, a lawyer, to process it for you. You'd be granted your citizenship and passports without even having to go to the island. Now that has changed. That changed in the last year or so. I believe you now have to spend between 7 and 10 nights there. Give me some road period, so I'm not entirely sure, but you have to spend a few nights in St Kitts every 5 years to qualify. And I think you need to visit to get your passport. One of the reasons they've insisted on this is they want quality applications. They want to have citizens who simply invest some money, value the country, value the passport, can prove they have some, ties to St Kitts. They've actually been there. And in return, when you get your St Kitts passport, your passport will stack up as one of the more powerful passports. If your goal is visa-free travel, then the St Kitts passport is very good for that. It's quite prestigious compared to other CBI programs. programs. And that's one of the reasons they insist you visit when you actually apply. But it's a pretty easy process. We have clients who do it quite regularly. Now, how do you do the citizenship by investment? What is the actual investment you need to do? Well, you've got options. One is you simply donate some money to the government. You invest $250,000 into the government of St. Kitts. I believe you buy one of their bonds. That goes into that. Those funds are used to maintain the island, pay for roads, schools, hospitals, etc. And in return, they will grant you citizenship. The other option is property. It's a slightly higher investment. You would invest $400,000, I think is the minimum, but you would get citizenship. And that's not a bad deal. It's one we regularly advise our clients. If you're not particularly fussed about speed and you're willing to choose a nice property, well, the market has good liquidity. There are plenty of new build properties under construction where you could see a reasonable return for your investment, or there's plenty of current properties on the market that are ready to go. You could move in straight away. You can live there, Airbnb it, simply hold it for a few years as an investment. But by simply buying a property, you can get your citizenship. And then at the high end, there's some absolutely beautiful villas. I mean, you can get some incredible villas, good staffing, gated security, on the island as well. And this is one of the reasons St. Kitts is so popular. It's incredibly safe. It's very secure. You can move there, you can live there with your family, you can school your children there, and it's a pretty safe place to be. Not only that, I believe there are daily flights to Miami, and I think bi-weekly flights to JFK, New York. I mean, St. Kitts is positioned for the American market. I have been to St. Kitts myself many times. I can tell you it has huge golf courses, nice hotels, good restaurants. Tourism is pretty robust, but there's a lot of people, retirees, who simply live there and enjoy the island. You also have various universities. I believe there's a number of veterinary universities on the island and various medical schools as well. So it has a fairly diverse economy, and certainly one of the places that if I was going to reside abroad, I live in Brazil and I travel the world regularly for business, but if I was going to set up a new base starting today, St. Kitts would certainly be on my radar. So that is, in a nutshell, the St. Kitts CBI program. And like I say, we're getting a lot of interest from our American clients at the moment, primarily because not everybody in America is happy. They're looking at Plan B options where they can store their wealth, money, and legacy outside of America. We also have a lot of inquiries from Europeans, more recently from Australia. A lot of people in Australia are very annoyed by the latest capital gain taxes changes and looking for options. And then there's people from Europe, Middle East, etc., who are also looking at St. Kitts. And the Chinese market is also probably one of the larger investors into St. Kitts also. So if you would like further information on St. Kitts and how you can apply for citizenship, well, reach out to me. The link is in the bio, and I offer a one-on-one consultation on how you can acquire a St. Kitts passport.